Hi, welcome to Math 0481. I am Kathleen Dexter Mitchell. I am a professor of mathematics at the College of DuPage. You can call me Professor Dexter or Professor Dexter Mitchell, either one is fine. My email address is dexterk@cod.edu. This video is designed to introduce us to the course. I'm going to talk a little bit about what the course covers, how you're going to progress through the course, the assignments that we're going to do, and then what you need to do to get started. Math 0481 is a non-credit elementary algebra course. It's designed to prepare you for college level math. If you haven't spoken to a COD advisor already, please do so just to make sure you're in the right class. And you'll also want to talk to them about which class you'll take next. There's a couple common paths. 0481 often leads to 0482. So 0481 is Foundations of College Math 1. 0482 is Foundations of College Math 2. You can also think of them as elementary algebra leading into intermediate algebra. And then those lead into college algebra or pre-calculus. So that's that first path there. And then another common path is for 0481 to lead to 0465, which then leads to general education math, which is Math 1218. But you can also get to Math 0465 from Math 0461. So I'll just add that in there. If you've taken Math 0461, you can go directly into 0465 if that's the course you need next. One thing I want to point out is if you're going from Math 0481 into Math 0482, there is a geometry prerequisite you have to meet also. And you can do that by just taking the geometry ALEKS placement test. So if you have questions about that, just reach out to me, and I'll also post more information about that later in the semester in case you're in that situation. I want to talk a little bit about the content of this course so you can sort of see how it's organized and so that it doesn't feel like it's just arbitrary topic after arbitrary topics. That's not true. These are very important topics in mathematics, and I want to make sure that you sort of get a feel of how they fit into the bigger picture. So in chapters 1 and 2, we're really laying the foundation for a lot of definitions and concepts that we need in order to do more interesting things in the future. So chapter 1 is largely a review. That's a review of arithmetic, the order of operations, and algebraic expressions. We move pretty quickly through chapter 1, but it is important. So if you have questions, make sure you get help and make sure you have that strong foundation that you're going to need in order to work with these concepts in later chapters. And then in chapter 2, we're going to learn the rules of exponents, and we're going to apply that to scientific notation, but the main concept there is the definitions of our rules of exponents and how to work with those. Those will be important, especially at the end of the semester when we talk about polynomials. And after those two foundational chapters, we move into chapters 3 and 4, which are two of the most important concepts that we have in algebra. So two things that we do in our study of algebra is to solve equations and to study graphs. Right, so we introduce these two concepts in chapters 3 and 4, and we start with the simplest of these types of objects, which are linear equations. It's a very simple equation. Of course, we'll talk about that more in chapter 3, and then we learn to graph them in chapter 4. Okay, and then in chapter 5, we talk about systems of equations, so we get just a little bit more involved, but we're still working with lines and with linear objects here. And then in chapters 6 and 7, we introduce one of the most important concepts in algebra, and that's a polynomial. It's a very important object that you'll work with a lot in any future algebra class that you take. So the topics we're going to study this semester are just core fundamental topics in algebra, which are really important in order to build on to study more interesting and increasingly interesting algebraic objects. So let's talk about how this course progresses and what we're going to do to learn the material in the course. And we'll go over each of these topics in depth as we move through. So the first thing you're going to do is watch some videos and take notes as you go. Then you will do some homework in ALEKS. Every few sections, there's a quiz, and then every couple chapters, there's a test. There are a couple of projects that we'll do in the semester to sort of enhance our understanding of the material, to sort of complement it, and we'll talk about those as the semester gets going. But let me sort of introduce each of these components to you. So let's start with the videos and notes. So our videos are hosted on the website Divide and Conquer Math. These were created by Professor Jennifer Hill of the College of DuPage. They're really great videos. They are short, they are energetic, and they have guided notes that accompany them. So our course here is Algebra 1. We're in Chapter 1, and let me just scroll down to show you where you will see the guided notes and how you're going to use them. So here is an example of the guided notes for the first Part 1 video for Section 1.1, and this is designed to accompany the video. So as you're watching the video, you'll fill this out as you go, and it matches the video precisely. And it has a couple different purposes. One, it helps you stay engaged with the video because you're actually doing something. It's supposed to be the equivalent of taking notes in class, so that you don't get distracted. It keeps you active instead of passive. And the other thing it does is it helps you organize notes so that when you go back to prepare for a quiz or a test, you have these notes available. And I would recommend that you write for yourself at the top of each page. Need to look into this more, or I'm having trouble with this, get help, things like that, to sort of alert yourself to things that might need additional study before you want to take a test on it. The number of videos per section varies just depending on the section. So you can see that for section 1.1, there's 6 videos total, 1.2 has 3, and 1.7 has 4. All right, and that's the first set of video notes that are due, those 3 sections, and I'll show you where to find this information in Blackboard. But what you'll be doing is filling out the notes for each video, and then you're going to submit those in Blackboard as a single PDF file. It's important that you submit that as one file, not as, not one per page, not one per section, but one for everything that's due that day. If you have questions about how to do that, just let me know. You can print these or you can screen write. So you're welcome to screen write. I wouldn't recommend typing because it's time consuming. And also there's some pretty interesting research that shows that handwriting has a better link for retention than typing does. So handwrite your math or screen write, whichever you prefer there. And again, reach out if you have questions about that. Once you watch the videos for a section, you can come over to Alex. So this is Alex. Let me extend this a little so you can see that we are in Alex. And this is where you'll do your homework. So you can go to the assignment list here. Also, if you go to the main page, when it opens up, it will tell you what's due and what's coming up. But you can also see everything under the assignments also. These are the things that are currently open. By the time you watch this video, all of the assignments will be open and you can see everything for the semester. So I want to point out now that 1.4 through 1.6, this is a review of fractions and adding and subtracting whole numbers, things like this that you may not need, but you might need it. So if you think you need it, just do this. Do this assignment. It won't hurt you. It will definitely help. If you're pretty confident that you do not need this review, there is a quiz I created for the same sections. And again, you can't see it right now, but it's available section 1.4 through 1.6. Just take that quiz and see how you do. And if you find that you need to do the work, then just go ahead and do it. I'm not going to be checking this for you. I'm not going to say, oh, you should have done this. Are you going to do this? I'm going to leave it to you. If you're not sure, do the review. But, I'm going to leave it to your discretion. You're always welcome to reach out to me if you have questions. But you do have to take that quiz, 1.4 through 1.6. The quiz is not optional, but whether or not you do the associated review is at your discretion. While we're here in Alex, let me throw in a word about late work. So for late assignments, there's a 25% penalty for any assignment that's worked after the deadline. There's a lot that I like about Alex, but one thing that I don't like is that that late penalty applies to the entire assignment. They can't differentiate between what you did before the deadline and what you did after. So just be aware of that. If you need to work an assignment after the deadline, and I understand that can happen sometimes, right? That's why we have that flexibility built into the course. So if you need to work an assignment after the deadline, there will be a 25% penalty on the entire assignment. Now, if you want to see an assignment, but you don't want to change your work and then incur that penalty, just go to the Alex gradebook and see the assignment from there. There, you're not changing the assignment, you're just viewing it. And this gradebook is only for that function. Your actual grade is going to be in Blackboard, not in ALEKS. Our quizzes are also in ALEKS. You have 2 attempts at each quiz, and the highest attempt is recorded. And I want to make a very important comment here. Use that first attempt as a check on your learning. So take it without any help at all. Don't look at your notes, don't Google anything, don't ask for help, don't use a calculator when you're not supposed to. Just take it as if you were taking a test. That's your best feedback on how you're going to do on the test. And then from there, you have the ability to take what's called a quick retake. You only have to retake the problems that you missed. So you don't have to rework the whole assignment. You can use your second attempt as a quick retake, and your highest score is recorded. So it will be your score with that retake worked in. So do that for yourself. Get that feedback so you can see how you're doing. Do you know it as well as you think you do? Are there things you still need to work on? Taking that quiz as if it were a test is the best way to do that. Speaking of the tests, those are also hosted in ALEKS, but they have to be taken at a COD testing center. This was described a little bit in the email I sent at the beginning before the semester started. It's also in the syllabus. So if you have any questions about that, please let me know. So let's very quickly take a look at Blackboard. The announcements will be sent to you each week via email, so make sure you're checking your school email for those announcements. I'll also post those on Discord. So I've created a Discord page, which you're welcome to join. It's not required, but it is encouraged. If you need to check your grade, it is here, right? Not in ALEKS, but it's here in Blackboard. Here's a link to the syllabus. Please read it, especially for an online course, right? This is your contract for the course. Take a look, make sure you know what's expected of you. And this is probably one of the links you'll use the most. This is a link to the weekly assignments for every week of the course. And you'll click on this and you'll be able to see what you need to do each week. So taking a look at that. It's very long the first week, but it's just a bunch of things to get started. So that's what you'll do to get started. Here is where you access ALEKS. Okay, so if you're emailing me asking me for the course code, I'm going to say you need to click ALEKS in Blackboard. That's how you get to ALEKS. And right here in the first week, you'll see this is the financial aid code. So that gives you free access for the first 2 weeks if you would like to use that. At the end of that 2 weeks, it will expire and you'll have to enter your own access code to continue. There's a course calendar here that has all of the due dates for our semester. So if you find that helpful, you can keep an eye on that or print it out if it helps you to see everything at once. Here's a link to the Math Assistance area. They have so much utility. They are so wonderful. Make sure you're using them. You pay for it, right? It's part of your fees that you've already paid for. So please use it. You can access them online by just clicking the Student Support tab in Blackboard, or you can go in person. And they have a ton of hours, including Sunday afternoons, weekdays, most days until 8 p.m. And then there's also additional flyers down here about one-on-one tutoring, Ask a Peer tutoring, so many different things they've set up to help. So make sure you're using those. And as you're working through the course, one thing that I want for you is that you are trying to get to a point where the topics that you're learning make sense. If you feel like you're just constantly memorizing, take a step back and reach out to me and let's talk about that, because you can't memorize every single problem. What I want instead is for you to reason through it and for it to make sense to you. One of the things that really drew me into math was the joy of figuring something out, right? You start a new problem though, and it does not feel good. It can feel very, very dark and very bleak. And sometimes we even get that negative self-talk to accompany it. But then you solve a problem, and for a minute, everything is great with the world, and you're happy. And And then you go into the next problem and you start that process again. But the more you do that process, the more confident you become in your ability to work through the problem. So my advice to you is don't get stuck in the frustrating feelings, right? Don't let them tear you down. Know that struggling with the material is part of the process, but it is also important to get help when you need it. So after you've worked with something for a while, if you feel like your work is not productive, reach out and get help. So I hope that you can find joy in working through the problems and understanding what you're doing so that it makes sense to you. And then the last thing I want to say before I show the orientation quiz is make sure that the online course is a good fit for you. You know, by this point, after 2 years of off and on, online instruction, you probably have a pretty strong understanding of whether or not you learn well in the online environment. But, if you don't, or if you aren't sure, do some investigation. You're always welcome to reach out to me. Just make sure that you are setting yourself up in an environment that's going to be the best for you to be able to learn. Okay, so here is our orientation quiz. This is just a collection of questions that I get asked frequently and that I thought it would be helpful for you to know before you start the course. So read the syllabus. Some of these questions are about the syllabus, not just the video. And then email me from your COD email account. So any of the announcements that I write to the class in Blackboard, those go to your COD email account. So make sure you have access to that account. So just email me the answer to these 5 questions, and then for some extra credit, introduce yourself on Discord. So there's a link to join the Discord page in Blackboard and just answer these questions. Do all of this first week, no later than Friday. And then always, anytime, if you have questions, and that can be questions about how to get started in the course, questions about your grade, questions about a topic that you're not understanding, please reach out to me. That's why I'm here, and it really helps me to hear from you. So don't hesitate to reach out to me. I love hearing from you all. Email me, message me on Discord. If you have a question about the material and you want to just post it to the whole class, that's great. And if you see someone post a question, please jump in and answer. So I look forward to working with you this fall. I hope that you find the material interesting, and I hope that you find success in making it make sense for you.